Hey everyone, my name is Josh from M Audio. Today we are going to be talking about Gorilla drum miking techniques using the M Audio Air 192.14 audio interface. So before we get into recording and mic placement, let's talk about getting good drum sounds. Starting with the snare, this is a 6x13 all brass snare. Very bright and ringy, but we can also do some fun tricks to make it super fat and punchy. The first thing is using a 2-ply head as opposed to a 1-ply head. This is gonna help focus the sound and lessen the ring. There's still gonna be some ring with this head, which is okay, because we can use a little piece of gel to control that. I like to put the gel about 2 inches away from the rim of the head. This gives me a nice tone, but still gives me enough punchiness to the drum to help it cut through the mix. Moving to the toms, I have a 10-inch all maple tom and a 14-inch all maple tom. These are awesome for rock because they're super bright and punchy. I have coated single ply heads on both of these drums, so they are gonna ring out a little bit, but they also bring out a bit more low end, which I like. For the floor tom, I have this tuned extremely low, and I also have a piece of gel that I moved very close to the center of the head. It's about 4 inches from the rim toward the center. And the reason I do that is to control the sustain, because we're using single ply heads, it's gonna ring out a lot. I want a more controlled sound and tone, but still keep the punchiness. So this helps us do that. The kick drum is an 18-inch all maple kick drum. Again, very punchy, lots of low end. I have a 2-ply batter head and a 1-ply coated front head with the hull cut out. Because it's so small and punchy, I have a very light pillow, so there's not a lot of muffling inside of it. That gives me a nice balance between the punch that we're gonna need and the open tone, so that way we have a bit more low end. Moving to the cymbals, I have a very dry set of 14-inch hi-hats, a very dry 21-inch ride cymbal, and a pretty bright crash cymbal, so that gives me a very wide tonal spectrum to choose from. Moving on to mic placement, we want to make sure that we make the most of our 4 XLR inputs in the 192.14. So I'm using a pair of stereo pencil condenser microphones that are in an XY pattern. I like this pattern because I don't have to worry about phasing, and for me, it gives a great stereo image and I can get a nice big image of the whole kit. On the snare, I'm using an Audix i5 cardioid microphone. I have this pointed directly at the center of the drum, so I'm able to get nice stick articulation, and I'm still able to get the size of the drum and a nice rim shot. On the kick drum, I have an Audix D112. This is a standard go-to kick drum mic for a lot of different people. I have this about midway through the kick, pointed directly at the beater, where the beater strikes the head. This gives me lots of punch, and I still am able to get lots of low end from the drum itself. So now that we have everything mic'd up, let's start getting sounds into our Pro Tools session. So this session has 4 mono tracks along with a stereo backing track, which I'll talk about in a second. And what I will do is start with the kick drum, go to the snare drum, and then check the overheads. We want to make sure that we have a nice healthy signal in the Pro Tools, and we want to make sure that it's not clipping. It's okay to be a little bit into the yellow, but we definitely don't want to be into the red. So let's start with the kick. Looks good. Snare drum. And for the overheads, I'm gonna set those as what I think they should be, and then when we do a recording, we'll be able to hear back what we're at and then make some adjustments. Great. So now I'm just gonna play for 5 or 10 seconds. Let's hear what it sounds like and then see if we need to make any adjustments. All right, looks like we had some clipping in the overhead, so I'm going to turn down the channels on the 192.14. Just a little bit. So now that we have our sounds, we got a healthy signal into Pro Tools. Let's try recording drums to the session. So a buddy of mine sent me a track that he'd like me to record drums to. So we have everything mic'd up. I have the stereo file inside of Pro Tools. Let's record it and have some fun. Great, that sounds great. These are ready to mix. This has been Recording Drum Sounds with the M-Audio Air 192.14 interface with Pro Tools First M-Audio Edition. Thank you very much for watching.